live right now?
We're recording, but there's no guarantee it's going to...
I don't know if I want to swear. Maybe I could just start off with chapter 2 of Huckleberry Finn. I don't think there's any offensive word in that.
Wait, the original or the...
Yeah, the original.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to get offended by that.
Yeah, right?
Iconoblast. We put the past on blast. Hit them with the truth, with things you never knew. Nobody is safe, no thing to place. Got Joel and Coop with history in your face. Iconoblast.
The Iconoblast Podcast, presented by ghostbed.com. So you guys want to talk about dolphins and handjobs?
Sure.
That's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yes.
I can't think of anything that I'd rather talk about.
That's why I'm here today. I'm here to learn, by the way. I don't even know where this is going. I'm just here to absorb all this information.
I think this is going to be a really interesting episode because I don't know of many people that know about this story, but I'd heard a little bit about it before. But once I actually started getting into the meat and potatoes of the topic, it was even weirder than I thought it was, which is strange considering it involves jacking off dolphins. A topic close to my heart, by the way.
Important history here.
Dolphin penis.
Yeah. Lots of dolphin dick in this one.
Is there Ace Ventura references in this?
I'm sure that you'll make some, or at least I hope so.
Okay. I just wanted to know if they were in the script or not.
Have we ever been in a two-shot before without me being so drunk that I couldn't finish an episode?
No.
Oh, there's a first time for everything.
I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, me either, but we're just going to have to deal with it.
I wish I was next to Jack. I wish I would have set up the cameras different.
No, you don't. I smell like cigarettes.
See?
We both
I
like
love
that
the smell
smell.
of cigarettes.
I think if I were to...
Do you smoke in bed?
No, I don't smoke inside, but I think... But I constantly have a whiff on me. I think at this point, my dog would be freaked out if I smelled just like soap. Like, this isn't my owner.
He wouldn't recognize you anymore.
He wouldn't know me anymore.
All right, so dolphin penis is what we're talking about?
Dolphin penis. Well, we'll get into it in a minute. I'll do the intro first. Welcome to the Iconoblast Podcast. This is the show that takes a look behind the public facades of famous icons to show you why you can never take anything at face value. My name is Cooper, and sitting to my right today, instead of across from me, is Joel R. Benner, because sitting across from me is our most frequent recurring guest at this point.
Ooh, I think this is number 3, right?
Is it number 3?
And he
or
puts your
number
mustache
4?
to the test.
I'm starting to get into some like SNL numbers, like
some
Steve Martin
numbers, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, I think the only other person that we've had on the show, actually, no, you've beat out Jessie at this point, and Jessie's the queen of podcasting.
She's good.
She's
a
really
natch.
good. She is very.
She's been on
very
how many?
good.
4?
She shows up in character though, right?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes she's herself.
So I guess
I think Jessie's always in character.
If you include her characters, she's been on the show 5 times then.
Oh yeah, because one of the episodes was Jenny Heisman instead of Jessie Wiseman.
Oh yeah,
that was the McAfee part 2.
69.
Yeah, McAfee 69. Every episode is 69 for.
Well, I hope you're okay with just boring old me.
I'm always
more
okay
than
with
okay.
boring old you, Jack. You're still, I got to say, you're my favorite guest because you know more about history than I do, and I shouldn't let that out in public because I'm hosting a history podcast, but that is actually 100% true.
Yeah, I know a little bit. Most of it's stuff that doesn't matter. So
none of history really matters.
No, it's fun to just talk about the same reason why we talk about celebrities and everything else. Like it's just fun to have theories or just talk, just chat. Looking at history is basically, it's just gossip. You're just gossiping about the past.
We had a good theory.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the last episode that we did, we had a very, very good theory at the end of the episode that Joel came up with that I was so excited about.
We came up with it together. We're a team.
Well, no, you were the one that brought it up first, and I got so hard about it that I could not stop thinking about it. Even
it was
after
the most genuinely
over.
excited I've ever seen Coop.
I don't get excited about anything.
More than like a new video game.
What was it?
So the last episode that we did, we were finishing up the series about Vercingetorix, which I'm sure that we've talked about Vercingetorix before because I'm fucking obsessed with
it. We talked about him when I did the Caesar show.
Yeah.
We talked about him extensively, yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love the story of Caesar and Vercingetorix, and Joel came up with a theory, which after Vercingetorix was captured after the Battle of Alesia, he spent 5 years in Roman captivity, and Joel pointed out that over the course of those 5 years, he was being held in Rome, so there's a pretty strong likelihood that Caesar and Vercingetorix were still interacting with each other while he was in captivity, while he was being held in the prison. I can't remember the name of the prison off the top of my head.
Starling and Hannibal Lecter. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, exactly like that.
Yeah.
Exactly like that.
Just popping in every once in a while to see how he's doing. Why'd
Sort
you
of
do it, Verse?
A little bit sexual.
Yeah.
I think
Why'd
that was
you do it, Verse?
I think that was more on the sexual angle was a little bit more on Joel's part than mine, but I could see that happening too because the Romans were pretty
Sexual.
not as much as the Greeks, but they
Well,
would
talk about a power move. You capture a guy,
And then
you
you fuck
bring
him.
him all the way back to your city state. You put him in a dungeon and then you bang him.
Exactly.
That's some U.S. prison level power move right there.
the ultimate victory.
Yeah.
Or why it was kept in secret was because old Verk was the one doing the banging.
Oh yeah, maybe Hitler
Caesar-
Caesar. I mean, they can be interchangeable.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Honestly, close enough, especially considering what we talked about with the Battle of, was it the Battle of Gergovia?
Gergovia.
No, Gergovia was the one that Vercingetorix won. It was the battle before that I can't remember the name of, but...
Oh, the one where Verk dug the tunnels under the ramp and then that one. Yeah, that's Gargantuan or whatever.
No,
it's
that
called.
wasn't Gergovia.
Appletonia.
Yeah,
I feel like you could just make
Appletonia.
them like you know what would be
Make 'em
fun to do is just
Somia,
make up
yeah.
like ancient world city names. It's just like because
Chota Masania.
yeah,
Yeah, it was a
That
battle-
sounds like that could be a place
Chodi
in
Masania,
like
yeah.
in
Chodi
the
Masada.
Caucasus or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the siege of Chota Masania. That was the one that we were talking about in the first episode about Vercingetorix, where in that one that was where the Romans built dirt ramps up to the tops of the walls of this Gallic city.
That was Gergovia.
No, it wasn't.
Because that's the one that
No,
Caesar
Vercin-
almost won.
No, Vercingetorix won the Battle of Gergovia kind of by a long shot. It was the first battle.
Oh, it's that other city.
Yeah,
Iberica. That's when they were going through
Iberica.
labia minor. Back
Yeah,
then,
yeah,
right?
it was.
Yeah, Labia Minor.
They were
He took over Labia Majora and then went to
Labia
Minor,
Minor.
and he
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah,
there,
the siege of Labia Minora, very, very famous battle. One of Caesar's greatest victories.
That was the
in my
battle he
opinion.
had with Cleopatra, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they had a lot of battles with Cleopatra's Labia Minora.
Have you
Trying to
guys ever
find it.
covered? She had a reputation as giving great blowjobs. It's like
Really?
historically recorded. Yeah,
I-
this isn't like a wives. It's like in a recorded book.
Documented.
That she gave great blowjobs.
She must have
God bless
because not only did she lock down Caesar, she locked down Mark Antony
Yeah.
also, and she also charmed
Back to back.
Yeah, back to back.
And her brother.
Front
She
to
locked
back.
down her brother. Let's not forget about that.
Well,
Her full-blooded brother. They were married.
Oh man, things were a little bit different back then.
Things were
Yeah.
so much better back then.
We make fun of the modern European royals for being like second cousins. And they were going hard in the incest back then.
Yeah, the Ptolemaic dynasty. There was a lot of fucking going on in that family because they wanted to keep that blood pure, and by pure I mean very inbred and deformed.
Yeah, and thank God the Romans showed up and watered it down a little bit.
Watered it down money shot wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Cleopatra is going to be one of the. It's definitely going to be one of the upcoming episodes. I don't know how soon we're going to do it because I don't want to do a whole bunch of Roman history. Well, it's not
She
Roman
was
history.
a
It's
BAB,
Egyptian.
though. She was a BAB.
BAB.
Badass
Badass
bitch.
Ah, yeah.
That was, not a woman you wanted to mess with. She knew exactly what she was doing.
You know what's
Strong
crazy
legs.
is it seems
She had DSL too.
Oh, I'm sure she did. Well, the carvings of her, or at least the image of her on, I think it was on Egyptian coins. Not a very attractive lady, but I mean, tastes change over time.
Yeah.
It was
but
a shitty artist.
it must have been a really
jealous
shitty artist
It
because
could have been a jealous artist, or maybe she was like, "Look, you can't show my beauty because I want it to be a first impression thing."
all I can say is she's not the type of lady that should have been depicted in profile because she had a hook bill. At least according to the
What's a hook
coinage.
bill?
One of those Greek noses.
Yeah.
That was hot back in the day, though, right?
I mean, it must have been because everybody talked about
She
how
probably
hot
had a
she
beer
was.
gut and a giant nose.
Well, our view in this part of the world, we don't realize, like, the way we view beauty in modern America, we don't realize how much, like, the cartoons we grew up on have impacted that. So
Right.
when you look at
Exactly
the way
that. Yeah,
Disney
exactly that.
always showed antagonists or depicted antagonists physically They had hook noses. They had what would be considered traditionally Eastern features, and they demonized people by showing certain physical characteristics that came from certain part of the world. So we, as children, looking at the witch from Snow White and all that, like,
Headbanger.
but seeing
not much you wouldn't, Joel.
these certain physical features in the quote unquote bad guys, we're subconsciously absorbing all that, and that it really does
Influences what you're
impact how we view
attracted to.
beauty.
Yeah.
I'm sure that has nothing to do with Walt Disney's out-of-control anti-Semitism.
That too, right? Like, there's a reason why he's been accused of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much
He's
so.
no Henry Ford when it comes to
Holy shit.
openly hanging out with Hitler.
Yeah,
no
and-
Henry Ford there.
Yeah, I don't think that there. Well, no, there was one other politician. I think it was a politician or an ambassador
Ford
or something like
loved
that.
Hitler.
Really loved Hitler.
You know, like every time people give, like those old German companies like BMW and Hugo Boss for
Rolls-
being in cahoots
was
with
it
the Nazi Party.
Oh no, Rolls-Royce did the engines for the British planes, didn't they?
Yeah, that's because they're British.
Yeah.
But anytime people give shit to these German companies that were around during World War II and supplied the German army,
Bayer,
but
the company that makes
they'll
the
like
aspirin.
BMW, they were fucking making shit for the Nazis. Like Henry Ford fucking openly loved Hitler.
Henry
So
Ford
Let's
wanted-
talk about the American car companies then.
Yeah, Henry
Who would
Ford.
win in a fight, Caesar or Hitler?
Caesar, for sure.
Caesar?
Yeah, Caesar was a much better tactician.
Yeah, and not only
He
that,
actually fought in a couple
Caesar would
battles.
actually. Well, I mean, Hitler did fight in World War One.
Oh yeah, he was a combat tested soldier.
Yeah.
Did you know why he shaved his mustache, the sides down?
No.
Where the whole Hitler mustache comes
Yeah, I
from,
thought that was
which
interesting.
should be called the Charlie Chaplin mustache, in my opinion. But I'm not trying to bring it
There's
back.
two guys in history that are known for that mustache, but when you get a real dickhead, he's ruining it for
Yeah.
everybody.
Will Smith tried to bring the mustache back at one point, the Hitler mustache.
Unironically,
I think so, because he did it for at least a handful of months from what I recall. It was years ago, but yeah, people
Will
didn't.
Smith, the actor.
Yeah, people
What are you
didn't.
talking about?
I'm sure that you can find pictures of it online because I saw pictures of it. He had, unless I'm thinking of some other actor, he
Because
had.
they all look the same. Drink.
No, that's on you. That's not on me. So you might have picked it up from previous episodes. Anytime one of us says something racially insensitive, it's a drinking game, and everybody has to drink. It's part of the fun in our YouTube premieres.
I didn't think that about you, Coop, so I don't expect you to drink. But then again, Joel knows you better. If you are a raging racist, Joel
Well-
would know.
I wasn't the one that
I said it.
I wasn't
I was
the one
the
that
one that
said
was
it.
racist just
I
now.
keep all of that internalized because I don't want people to hate me.
Okay.
Yeah, I let it all out so people know who I actually am.
But yeah, the reason Adolf Hitler had the really is that a put on the sunglasses moment, Joel?
Oh, yeah, I'm feeling real good about what I said.
Okay. The reason Adolf Hitler had the Hitler mustache is because he used to have a big sort of handlebar type mustache, or the big curls on the side that was popular
which was
at the time.
Yeah, that was in style.
And he had to shave it because it was interfering with the gas mask. So one of his commanding officers had him shave
They were
it.
like, shave
so-
the mustache or cut down the sides.
Well, it's probably
Right?
more like shave the mustache or get killed by mustard gas.
And then he was a rebel. In my opinion, I think it was a rebel move that he was like, I'm not shaving the mustache. I'm going to cut the sides off.
I'm not going to paint him in that good of a light. I think of
Well,
it.
Charlie Chaplin was already a big. I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
Charlie
Yeah.
Chaplin was already a big star at that time.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So, and they would have absorbed American cinema at that time in Germany. I'm sure people would have recognized the mustache on Hitler.
That's a.
Can you
That's
imagine
a good point.
Hitler kept the mustache because he was like low key a big Charlie Chaplin fan?
I hope so.
Because Charlie Chaplin, by the way, wasn't the greatest guy either.
Oh no, pedophile.
But you were-
Yeah,
you were
and
saying-
there were standards of the day where like a 25-year-old man would maybe date a 16-year-old, and at that time it's like, all right, if you're gonna marry her and you love her, like you could play. He was going after like 14-year-olds in his 30s.
Yeah.
He hit the check mark.
I think
of a pedophile.
I think from what I recall,
Charlie
far
was?
beyond his 30s, he was still dating teenagers. We'll do
Yeah.
an episode about Charlie Chaplin at some point, and I'll refresh my memory about it. But I think a long time ago when we did our first run of the podcast, that I'm sure at this
it was
point
a scandal back then.
even back then it was still a
Yeah,
scandal.
because he married a 14-year-old or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean that even by those days they're like, Charlie, no.
You know what that reminds me
Charlie.
of? So
Come on, Charlie.
you know the whole scandal around Errol Flynn forcing himself on young women?
No.
No?
I know he was like obviously like the Brad Pitt of his day. I didn't know he was a Me Too guy.
Yeah, he went to court for it, and
Oh, wow.
it's so I am not excusing anything that he did by a long shot at all, but I have to say that one of the most clever comebacks I have, well, not clever, it's cruel, but still funny to a certain degree, while he was in court facing the girl that was accusing him of molesting her. His response to the judge was, I don't know it verbatim, but it was something along the lines of, Your Honor, look at her. Give me some credit. Like, she's too ugly for me to molest. It's not that she's underaged. It's the fact that she's not attractive enough for me to molest.
That comeback wouldn't play well in modern courts.
Oh, God, no. I don't think that it even played well that back then.
It is easy. Well, it's interesting when it comes to like celebrities like that. We shut certain things off. There's a whole Michael Jackson thing, like everything we've heard. I don't know enough about that topic, but everything we heard, but people will still jam out to Michael, right? We'll let things go.
Yeah, God bless him.
When clearly like if it was your local mechanic that was doing that to little boys, like you'd pitchfork the fuck out of him, right?
Oh, you
Without
turn him
Doing what, Jack?
Turn him into Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
Innocent.
Yeah. After
Michael
he's
Jackson?
convicted.
Innocent, yeah.
No, but even like the Bill Cosby thing, it's like it's a thing where people, you know,
Guilty.
like he was a huge part of my childhood and all that. I'm like, yeah, but you know, when 60 women accuse you, there's a good chance it's not a conspiracy.
Yeah.
He did it.
A fan of feet, from what I hear, Bill Cosby.
Dead
That's
feet.
why but
feet
to this day,
while
it's-
someone's sleeping, he likes the feet.
Yeah.
that's why I don't trust anything that's wholesome, because there's always dark shit hiding behind wholesome. All the time in this country, the preachers who are the most adamant about morality are the ones getting caught doing meth and
I say
banging
this-
16-year-old boy prostitutes. You know, like,
Yeah.
it's we are so fucking dumb in this country that we just accept wholesome at face value, and we just allow this shit to happen. It's always the most wholesome motherfuckers that you get caught doing the most fucked up shit.
Except for one. There's one saint.
Ron Jeremy.
Ron Jeremy.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit, and everyone always knew he was kind of a piece of shit. We
At
just know-
least
The
he
neighbor
was
guy. I forgot his name.
neighbor guy.
Yeah, our neighbor. Won't you be my neighbor?
Oh, Mr.
yeah.
Fred Rogers.
No one's got dirt on Fred, and I
the only
doubt
one.
there ever will be.
There's even
He's a saint. He's the only one that
No,
made it.
he was,
of all people.
yeah.
There's even
I'm not
some.
saying all wholesome people are evil. I'm
I
just
think
saying
they are, except
we,
for one.
we allow quote unquote these wholesome people that we cherish. We doubt that they can be evil because of we see the way they've projected themselves.
Right.
That was pretty much the inspiration for this whole podcast. Was initially pointing out the terrible things that supposedly good people had done.
Yeah.
The very first episode of the show that we did when we were kind of in the prototype phase of the podcast was about Mother Teresa. And
Yeah, she was fucking shady as fuck.
yeah, not only did so I don't think that this is necessarily a bad thing about her. I think it makes her a hypocrite, but Mother Teresa lost her faith in God years and years and years before she died, but she still kept up the same image.
She kept fronting.
She kept fronting, which I think hypocritical, yes, but I think at that point she knew that she was an icon,
Yeah,
and she
I
knew
mean
that she had to keep that going
See,
because
and that's
she
why I
felt like she
respect
could do
Dr.
more.
Dre. Because Dr. Dre got out of the rap game. Everyone's asking him for a new album.
After he beat the shit out of a
Yeah,
female
he-
journalist
he
And
beat
then-
the shit out of his
on camera.
Yeah.
And then was like, I'm not going to make another album because it's going to suck, but I'm not going to front. Mother Teresa was fronting and pretended, you know?
She
Dr. Dre's not going to pretend.
the thing about Mother Teresa that I think is horrible for what she like. The thing that I think actually makes Mother Teresa a bad person in the long run is that her hospitals, her I don't know if they were hospices or care homes all over the world.
Yeah.
What she would do is the nuns that she had working in those hospitals would trick people into being baptized to become Catholic on their deathbeds.
Oh, shit.
without them even knowing what was going on. They were forcibly converting people to a completely different religion against their will by lying to them about it.
So they could go to heaven.
That's some lawyering bullshit right there.
Yeah. And I think that that's probably the most egregious thing that Mother Teresa did, which losing her faith, I can understand that. She saw a lot of suffering over the course of her life, and that can lead people to lose their faith. But actively encouraging the people working for her to convert people to a completely different religion against their will on their deathbeds without them even knowing that that's what's going on is pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
And she was a non-believer at this time?
Yeah. She lost her faith like 20 years or more before she died.
What's
20,
the
30
point of
years
that
before
then?
she died.
Because I could
honestly
see it
don't
being
know.
like if she was still all in, and she really believed like, oh fuck, if they're not this religion before they die, they're gonna go to hell. So she
Right?
could have had this fucked up
So-
mentality where she thought she was right by doing that.
You remember
like
how
Christopher Columbus. But if she was a non-believer, then
Columbus
what
was a piece of shit too, even for his time.
Yeah.
Because there
fuck
were
was the
there were a
point of
lot
it?
of Spanish people that were not. They were like actually like doing stuff for the natives and trying to protect them. Columbus he really was genocide.
What's funny is the guy who turned Columbus in was equally as bad as Columbus, if not worse. A lot
Just
of
wanted to
the
clear out his piece of the pie.
yeah, he knew that if he could get Columbus out of the picture, I think it was Francisco de Bobadilla?
De Bobadilla,
I think it was de Bobadilla.
the priest guy.
No, it wasn't the priest. The priest
Wait,
was
who's
the one.
What's the
The
priest?
priest
name?
was the good guy.
The priest
Yeah, I
was-
forget the name of the priest, but
He was sinful too. He
Which-
exaggerated stories a little
also,
bit.
yeah, that's
but
another thing.
What was his name?
I can't remember. It's been so long since we've done those
think
episodes.
it was-
Those are the first 6 episodes of the
Yeah.
show that we did. The priest that helped sort of demonize Christopher Columbus. Which, I mean, honestly, doesn't take a whole lot of work. But the priest that helped demonize Columbus
All redheads are the devil.
was actively exaggerating a lot of the stories because he knew that if he didn't make the stories as horrible as possible,
people weren't going to believe him.
nobody
would
was
give
going
a
to care.
And still, I mean, at least in American history textbooks, still to this day, I mean, it's changing now, but still to this day, people are still clinging on to Christopher Columbus, the hero. Like,
He for sure wasn't a hero. I think the greatest thing that he did was,
But people still think he is.
yeah, I don't think that he should be worshipped as a hero. I think that he should be remembered as a historical figure.
and that's it, right?
And
but like, we got to get off this fucking Columbus discovered the New World thing, because we clearly know now, based on evidence, that Leif
never
Erikson,
Yeah.
Leif Erikson beat him by 300 years.
Yeah, went to
the
Finland.
Nords had already, they not just in Greenland, they had already been on mainland North America
But didn't
long
Chris-
before Columbus made it here.
But he
And
never
so
made it here. That's the other thing.
We got to fucking quit.
Yeah.
But the Western Hemisphere in general.
Yeah.
Leif Erikson was here hundreds of years before the Spaniards got here.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Leif
why the
Erikson?
fuck are we? Why? Like, how is it bad to revamp our textbooks for children and just tell them the fucking truth? The first Europeans came from fucking Nordic countries.
Yeah.
Like, we know that.
They were Scandinavians that
We
came here
know
first.
that.
A Viking?
Yeah.
It's like
His name was Leif.
Leif. Yeah.
That's why.
Hey, speaking of Mother Teresa, remember how Mother Teresa and Princess Di, they died in the same week?
Oh shit, I forgot that.
They died in the
Holy
same week. And,
Princess Diana's death really overshadowed that in my memory.
Big time, yeah. But so Princess Di gets up there, and she died, and so she went through the pearly gates a couple days before Mother Teresa did. I think she died a couple days before her, and Mother Teresa, of course, dies. She gets to the pearly gates, and St. Peter says, "Mother Teresa, for a lifetime of good work to humanity, I'm awarding you this halo." And he puts it on her head and opens the gates. She goes through the gates. Mother Teresa's walking around heaven, checking out the sights, and she sees Princess Diana standing there with this big fucking halo on her head. Huge halo, biggest halo in the place. And Mother Teresa is a little incensed. She goes back to St. Peter. She says, "St. Peter,
What the fuck, man?
Princess Diana was born into wealth. She was a philanderer. She lived her life purely for mortal sin. I was born poor. I gave my life to the poor. I did everything I could do for the poor. Why does Princess Diana get a bigger halo than me?" St. Peter says, "That's not a halo. That's a steering wheel."
Oh.
I can't believe I've never heard that one before.
That was a Jackie the Joke Man Martling joke.
Holy shit!
I was
I love
obsessed
Jackie
with
the
his
Joke
shit
Man.
back in the day. Yeah.
Oh, he's so good. So Princess Diana and Mother Teresa, which by the way, Mother Teresa's real name is Agnes Gongsa Bojakshu.
Yeah, she was from Calcutta, right?
I don't think she was. I think she was.
Calcutta.
Fuck. It's probably been 5 or 6 years now since
Was she Portuguese?
I've read through a story. She wasn't Portuguese. She was
Indian, right?
No, I think that she was like Romanian or something.
No shit.
I think.
I love that country.
Don't quote me on that. But yeah, real name Agnes Gongsa Bojakshu.
Agnes.
I'm sure that
That's
I'm
my name.
butchering that name.
That sounds like some Eastern European shit right there. Agnes, that's pretty Eastern European sounding.
But speaking of two women who are ghosts, let's talk about Ghost Bed. We'll get into our ad for this episode. I'm still working on those segues. I'm not great at it, but
That was a good one.
yeah, good enough.
It was
I'll
good
go with
until
it.
you fucked it up by saying that it. You gotta own
Lampshading
it.
it. I'm trying to explain the joke. That's a number one thing that a comedian's not supposed to do, but I'm definitely not a comedian, and that wasn't a joke. The Iconoblast podcast is presented by ghostbed.com/drinking bros. Ghostbed has been a loyal sponsor of the Drinkin' Bros for 5 years now, and everyone here in the studio is in love with their mattresses and pillows, including 2 viewers right now that are watching from a ghost bed.
Sleeping.
Ghostbed makes their high-quality mattresses right here in the good old USA, and each mattress comes with a 20-year warranty. You can try a Ghostbed mattress for 101 nights, and if you're not completely satisfied, you can return it, no questions asked. Their mattresses and pillows have cooling technology to help keep you cool at night, which is especially helpful considering Texas is like living on the surface of the fucking sun. You can buy a mattress for around $35 per month, and they have no money down, 0% financing plans. Ghostbed also offers bundles so you can get everything you need. Joel, don't make fun of me while I'm doing the ads.
I'm not.
I really got to concentrate on this.
You have a kink what?
Well, I do, but it has nothing to do with the ghost bed. Although a ghost bed is a good place to act out your kinks if you want to. Ghostbed also
Ghostbed
offers
does not kink shame.
No, Ghostbed doesn't. Ghostbed is probably the most accepting company out of out of like a lot of the companies out there.
I was on a like a group call. There was like 10 people, a bunch of people from Ghostbed and like the marketing team from Drinking Bros Network on a call, and their concepts and their ideas involve bed bugs, cocaine, strippers. Like they're totally awesome.
If that's not a company you can get behind, I don't know what is, honestly. Ghostbed also offers bundles so you can get everything you need in one convenient package. Just choose from their 4 mattresses and then pick your bundle. So whether you just need a mattress and a frame or you want it all, like their cooling pillows and sheets, you can always get the best bang for your buck. Speaking of banging, another good place to bang is on a Ghostbed. Right now, Ghostbed is offering a flash sale where you can get 40% off when you buy a mattress and adjustable base, or 30% off of everything when you use the promo code DrinkinBros. So head over to ghostbed.com/drinkinbros to take advantage of all their awesome deals. Again, that is ghostbed.com/drinkinbros. Ghostbed. Sleep so good, it's scary. So you guys want to talk about giving dolphins hand jobs?
I have one thing to say about the Ghostbed that they mentioned.
What?
The king size one has you can make one side go up, one side go down. They're kind of it's a single bed, but it's like 2 separate beds. So your kids can be asleep on one side of the bed, and you can be fucking on the other side, and they won't know.
Okay, we are not going to encourage people to have sex in the same bed as their children.
It's normal in some cultures.
True. It's also why I have such a complex. But anyway, dolphins and hand jobs.
Really? Let's talk about that instead of dolphins.
I'd rather do a little Dr. Phil sesh than
Yeah, Coop, come on, open up your feelings.
I don't feel like crying on camera. I do that too much already with my other job.
What?
I walked in my parents watching a porno together one time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I walked in on my parents having sex when I was like probably around
What position were
6
they
or
in?
7 years old. It was cowgirl.
With the swing?
No.
Oh,
Cowgirl.
they didn't have that
So,
up that time?
did you see it from the back, or did you see it from the? Did you see
see
your
the
mom's
balls?
boobs?
Kind of.
What'd you see?
No, luckily it was profile.
How much hair?
Okay, so you saw the side of your
Dude,
mom's
How much hair?
boobs.
This is in like the late 80s, so
You
Lots
saw
of
the
hair.
side of your mom's boobs, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Where did your dad have his hands placed? On boobs,
What was he
on
doing with
butt,
his hands? Tell
on
us in
legs.
detail. Tell us in detail.
I don't.
Stomach?
I don't think I
Was
can
he
get into this.
stimulating her clit?
Was he
No,
holding
she was
the
riding him?
Was he
he-
holding the back of his head like this?
Yeah.
He
was
was-
he relaxed? Yeah.
Okay, so from what I can recall, I mean,
Be honest.
I got to give respect to my dad. He was a good man, but
He said he was a good-looking man.
he was a very good looking man, and I think that's why he pulled the Leonardo DiCaprio and he was starfishing. Just
he didn't
laying
have to
back.
work.
Yeah,
I get to rely off of looks.
Mama was
Yeah.
doing the work.
yeah. He was a good looking guy.
She's a hard worker.
You don't have to work that hard if you're a super good looking guy. So yeah, can we talk about instead of my
I mean,
child?
I don't know your parents. I don't want to comment on. I think it'd be inappropriate for me to comment on your parents' sexual relationship, but sometimes it does help the man to have his hands on something.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like I need to.
I don't know. Okay, I mean,
Your mom was hot back in the day. She's still hot. She got a big butt. Shit. Sorry,
one
Mom.
of them Pixar
Sorry,
butts.
Mom.
Mama Coop, we're sorry. I
She
really,
listens to the
really,
show.
I really hope that you don't listen to this episode in particular. She pops in on every few episodes.
talk to your mom.
Oh shit, you did. We talked to my mom
Now
on the
I
Jack
feel dirty. And
Slash.
now I'm remembering this conversation.
Now, how dirty do you think that I feel? Because that's a woman that gave birth to me and raised me.
I know. I should have never gone
My
there.
sister listens
Let's
to
talk
this
about
show
9/11
also.
instead.
I would feel much more comfortable talking about 9/11 than what we're talking about
I think
right now.
I think people who survived 9/11 would rather talk about that than watching their parents fuck.
Pete Davidson would probably rather talk about his parents. Would rather talk about
His dad's
9/11.
violent death than his parents fucking.
Yeah.
I never walked in on my parents or any of the many men that my mom was sleeping with throughout my life.
Okay, let's go, Dr. Phil, on this one. How many
Yeah,
sexual partners
yeah,
did your mother have?
We
that
just
you
went
know
down a
of?
rabbit hole
Unlimited
for me,
amount.
Joel. Let's
There's
go ahead and
there's
get
no
into your
telling.
trauma.
There's no telling.
This is a history podcast.
It wasn't traumatic.
Let's
it wasn't
talk
traumatic.
about that history.
It wasn't traumatic because I never caught her. She was very good at keeping it separate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
But I did grow up in a naked home. We were naked all the time until like I was.
Maybe
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Really?
We would shower together and stuff until like I was 18, and then we stopped.
Got too weird at that point. I do remember showering with my dad when I was. I do remember doing that when I was like maybe 4 or 5 years old.
No
I
joke.
remember just that awkward like. There's this dick in front of you.
Right at head level.
It's not obviously not sexual.
I never
but,
showered
like,
with the. I only with my mom until she couldn't carry me anymore. I have weird memories of being in
Your
the shower.
mom was pretty strong, so yeah, I dare say
yeah,
that
18.
was well into your
No.
teens. No, I actually have a story that it made my dad so proud because there was one day when my mom had some friends over, some of her lady friends, and I was probably,
Was that when she was going through her lesbian phase?
I mean, phase? What do you mean?
Second half of her life.
Second half of her lesbian phase.
You mean she finally realized who she was?
When
and-
she finally,
Sorry.
she finally went.
I didn't know how much you wanted to talk
went
about
full
it,
on by. So I was probably probably around 4 years old, 5 years old. I don't even remember it all that much, but apparently my dad and I had just gotten done taking a shower, which sounds really fucking dirty now
No,
that I'm
it's
saying it
normal.
out loud.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
that's
I
what
mean, I
kids
guess it's
do.
normal. So we had taken a shower together, and I came running out into the living room like half naked, and my mom sitting there with a bunch of her friends, and just apropos of nothing, I had no incentive to say this, no reason to say this. I just said, "My daddy has a pee-pee this big," and held my hands up like I was
Yes.
telling a fish story. And my mom was embarrassed. All of her friends started laughing, but my dad was so goddamn proud.
Yeah.
Oh, you did him a fucking
Oh yeah, made him
good
look
one,
good.
dude.
Yeah.
That's fucking good wingman right there.
And I bet they fucked so hard that night.
Sorry, Mom.
Oh, Jack, this is why I love having you on the show. So, Dolphins and Handjobs. Can we talk about Dolphins and
Yes.
Handjobs now?
Okay.
It's going to be
I'm sorry
Dolphins.
for interrupting your show.
No, that's what we have you on here for. Is I can't carry. I have to read notes to do this fucking show because I have next to nothing to say unless I'm reacting to somebody else or listening to what somebody else has to say. But yeah, we're going to be talking about not only Dolphins and Handjobs, we're going to be talking about a little bit of LSD and surprisingly Carl Sagan today. This is a wild fucking story. So first of all, I just want to say, Charlie, this was a story that you sent me on Instagram. Thank you.
Listener
because
story.
Yeah, this is a listener story. I got sent an article, and
What was the source?
Charlie, one of our listeners.
But what was the article? Where was it from?
The article? It was just a link to an article online. I can't remember what the website was.
Washington Post.
No, not the Washington Post. This is actually true stuff, not the fucking propaganda that they're pushing. But yeah, it was one of our listeners, one of our longtime listeners that sent me the idea for this episode. And this was originally going to be, because we talked about having you on the show earlier this week. And when we talked about it before, the original idea was we were going to talk about like some of the worst presidents in history.
Yeah.
Just to show
Which
that
that would be a fun show.
Yeah, that's still going to be a topic for us in the future, because people who think that having shitty presidents is kind of a modern
new
phenomena.
thing? No.
It's like, no, we have had a lot of shitty presidents in the
There's
past.
a reason why we ended up in a civil war. James Buchanan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
like, I also got to say this. Can I just say this? And I'm so
please,
sorry.
no, Jack, go. We've got all
always try
fucking
to tell
night.
people this. There's two people that came from the same era that Americans were so we're so fucking dumb. And we literally only grasp onto history that makes us feel good and history that's easy to grasp. And we will just throw away all truth, shit that's right in front of us, just so we can feel good. But Richard Nixon was a piece of shit as a human being. He was a fucking weirdo. He sucked as a human being. That's not a person I'd want to be my parent. That's not a person I'd want to work for. But as far as what he accomplished as president, he wasn't a bad president. He did a lot as president that benefited the United States of America. He was, on paper, a decent president.
He was a businessman and an entrepreneur, because I think before he became president, when he was still in the military or something like that, like he was running gambling dens and shit like that.
Yeah. History we base off of his character, and if you're basing off the character, yeah, he was a shitbag.
Yeah.
But if you're basing off of actually like accomplishment, he's not on the lower end of presidents, where we have this infatuation with Camelot and JFK, and this is a man that was cut down in his prime, a handsome man, cut down in his prime violently. So we
Part of the American aristocracy also.
yes, and we give him all this leeway, but when you look on paper, the reason why he was campaigning in Texas, in Dallas that day, was it wasn't a guarantee he was going to win Texas, which traditionally had been a stronghold for Democrats, because
I dare
JFK
say
had been fucking up a lot of shit.
I dare say he didn't win Texas.
He definitely did. Yeah, Texas won in that one. Yeah, 1963, Texas won. But he had been fucking. The Bay of Pigs was a fucking disaster. He elevated the Cold War. He made it fucking worse. So on paper, JFK had a lot of. Yeah, he was like, his visions for civil rights were good and what we needed, but like things that happened in his presidency were a shit show.
He was also in bed with the mob.
Yes. So talking about, well, his papa definitely organized that, and he went along. He knew what was going on, but yeah.
Well, I think you were the one that was telling me that his dad started off as a bootlegger, right?
Oh yeah, Joe was connected with all shady underworld figures. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Sam Giancana is the one that really put JFK into office. He was a mob leader.
Frank Sinatra.
Chicago.
Frank Sinatra also helped get. Was it JFK or Bobby Kennedy that he was? Frank Sinatra was helping their political career.
It was. I'm assuming both, but
Yeah, that would make
JFK
sense.
for sure. Yeah, Sinatra was going to bat for JFK hard, possibly at the instruction of Sam Giancana. And you know what I love about when we talk about like the the Mexican cartels, how they'll like basically like hire musicians to basically sing glory songs about them, and it seems weird, right? Like,
Narco Corridos.
it's a fucking
I don't think
thing.
I'm
Like, if
pronouncing
you're a
that
rich
right.
drug lord in Mexico, you're buying up bands and basically having them sing propaganda for you.
Yeah.
Where people are like, oh, that's fucking crazy. I'm like, no, that shit's happened in the United States of America. Frank Sinatra owed the mob things.
Yeah.
And he did things for the mob. Now, the mob wasn't asking for the old Blue Eyes to go kill people, but he was doing concerts for them.
That's for damn sure. Frank Sinatra is going to be another future topic for sure.
Yeah. Interesting cat.
Very, very interesting.
Big dick.
Really?
Yeah, that's what they
Oh,
say.
yeah.
No shit. Old
Yeah,
Blue Eyes
Yeah,
had
Blue
a big
Eyes
dick.
was,
Had a
yeah.
hog, dude.
Fuck. Old Blue Eyes was was swinging a dong. I didn't know that. He was so skinny though. The pictures of him in his early years, he's like skin and bones. He looks like a meth head.
Italian.
Is that?
Yeah.
That's what I
The
figured.
old
All
sausage,
that.
man.
I figured all
Yeah,
that
it's
pasta would.
they got more
would fatten
dick.
him up.
It's more dick. They got more dick.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. By the way, MOOR, not MORE. They have more dick. 5 people are going to get that.
I didn't pick up on that. If you feel like explaining it to me. Feel free.
The Moors invaded specifically Sicily and southern Italy at some point in history. The Moors were a very powerful civilization from North Africa, and they bred with the locals. And
It's
Italian-
history stuff you wouldn't
are you-
understand. It's
Saying Italians have big dicks because they're part African.
Oh, okay. I remember a joke about that from I think it was True Romance, except they used some harsher terms.
Oh yeah. That with Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
great scene.
Yeah, it was a really good scene. Surprisingly shocking watching it nowadays.
I just watched that movie.
Didn't hit me as hard when I was a kid, but wow, those are some hard R's at the end of that word.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about that earlier, remember? When we were talking about how the F slur, as we call it these days. I'm not even going to say it at this point. But I'm not going to lie, when I was 12 in the late 90s, I said that shit all the time.
Oh, God,
and we're rightfully at a place, even people our age who grew up saying the word, we're rightfully at a place where we don't use that kind of language anymore. And when you watch these
I struggled
movies,
to let it go.
I did too.
It was a loving term for me that I would call my friends.
2008, 2009-ish is when I started pushing it out of my vocabulary because it was becoming, you were beginning to recognize it for the slur it was. But before that, people forget. If some 18-year-old wants to scold me for that because you grew up in a world where it was always bad, go ahead. But people forget in the 90s, we always knew the N-word was bad, but that word was not associated with being bad. So
the F word.
We were talking about that earlier. Yeah, the F
Not
slur.
the N word. The F word.
Yeah. No, the N word. I always knew that was bad. That was always bad in my lifetime. But like the F slur, when we watch we were talking about that earlier. When we watch movies from the 90s and they just throw it around casually, you forgot how bad that word was. You're like, oh wow, I forgot that. That was a normal thing back then.
It's not even just from
crazy.
the 90s. It's like from the early 2000s.
Yeah,
too.
it was. I don't think they stopped using it degradingly probably until the late 2009-ish.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
It's a naughty word.
But yeah,
It's a bad word because
naughty.
its history is for like the N-word, and I'm not comparing the two, but like the N-word, it's steeped in hurt and pain and yeah.
Also, not it doesn't originate with the term for a bundle of sticks, which
If you use it in a certain context, I guess you can use it. Yeah.
Yeah, but also
if you're British, you can use it when you're having a smoke.
Yeah. A lot of people will say that it comes from gay people being pretty much used as cordwood to burn other people at the stake.
Whoa.
And that's why they would call them that, is because it was also a term for a bundle of sticks.
Yeah.
Not true. It's got a much, much longer history than that.
I don't know. Yeah, the etymology with that slur.
I can't remember it exactly off the top of my head, but for sure it does not originate with gay people being burned. That's not
we
where it
don't
came from.
use anymore either, and I've let it slip a lot more than I have the F slur. But it's a word that I go out of my way not to use because it was normal for me to use growing up. Is that R word?
Oh, what retard?
That one, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've got a bad habit of using that.
But you know what?
On
But
this
that's
show.
the thing. It's like it's one of those things. Like we're just beginning to find out. Like, and we're coming to grips with, hey, that's not. But I'm not. I don't feel ashamed that I used to use it all the time because that was just normal. But we're learning more and more now. Like, developmentally disabled people are actually, voicing that we don't like being called this. And
then, my biggest issue with that is the fact that it's just it's a form of, I don't know, syntactical creep where. So originally, and I'm sure that I've talked about this on the show before. Originally, like idiot, moron, those used to be scientific terms. They used to be medical terms.
Yeah.
And then people
idiot's
started.
still good. That's still a safe one.
Yeah, but like spastic, things like that. They're I think over in Europe, spastic is pretty much the same thing. Where if you use that term, people get offended
Spastic?
for it. Yeah.
Doesn't that just mean hyper?
Which spastic here is really light. Nobody.
Yeah, that's
gets
like,
offended
oh,
by
you're-
that.
you
Hey,
had too much-
spaz. You can still
Yeah.
say that.
It
And
just means you had too much coffee.
that's the thing that I struggle with is it's pretty much the same way that words change over time because people start using them as insults.
Yeah.
Where they can start off as a medical term or, just a really regular word.
Yeah.
But people start using them in a more profane or insulting way. And then people get insulted by that, so they change it to a new word.
Oh yeah.
That starts getting used.
Oh,
What
white
do you-
people.
what do you-
White people who are racist who won't say the N-word exist. They just replace it with other like dog whistle words. You know what I've noticed with white people, what word they love to use, that because they can't say the N-word. Thug. That's the.
Oh.
That's their. Because back in the day, their grandparents would have just said the N-word towards this person. Now it's like
My grandpa said it all the time. My grandpa said that all the goddamn
they don't
time.
use the word thug when referring to white criminals or white people that are in the news for bullshit.
Yeah.
They only use it for one specific race.
Yeah, it's pretty
You
descriptive
know where
for a
their
certain
heart's coming on
demographic.
that one. Yeah.
But in terms of
Super predator.
yeah, super predators. Which, by the way, once again, this is how the show always goes. We're talking about dolphins and handjobs
Talking
today,
about
but
the
holy shit,
history
we're
of bad.
But
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
we're
sorry.
going-
I'm
No,
so
no.
sorry.
that's what I love about having you on the show though. Is we
Bro,
always
I
get into
watched
so
last
much other
show, though.
shit.
I watched the show that I was on, which I typically don't do, and I just was cringing the whole time. Like, Jack, you interrupted, dumb, inconsiderate bastard. Their show. You're going off in your dumb tangents.
No,
And
that's
I think I texted one of you, and I was like giving an apology almost.
you never have to apologize for that ever. That's one of the reasons that we love having you on the show. I mean, so all of the information in the notes that I have, that's really just a fallback point for keeping the conversation moving forward and creating more conversation. The side stuff, we have been told by many, 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 many listeners that all of these tangents are the part of the show that they
favorite
enjoy
part
the
of the
most
show,
because that's when the personality comes through. But going back to the way that words change over time, I still
Dildo's always been dildo.
dildo's always been dildo because
We can still use that.
and thank
Could
God,
I-
thank God,
Chode. Yeah.
Chode,
Quit acting
another
like
one.
a dildo, Jack.
Which
Let her read some notes.
I
Fucking
think that was the
chode.
first time that we had you on the show. It started off with us having a very intellectual debate about the actual definition of chode.
Yeah,
Because
oh,
this is a
that's
highbrow
right.
show.
Yeah.
This is a
was very
highbrow
intellectual, yeah, I
educational
remember.
podcast.
It's like the difference between pop and soda and Coke, right? Every region has a different way of referring to soft drinks.
pop.
A different way to use
I
it
think
too.
every region,
Nose,
chode
butthole.
means something different in every region. As someone from the upper Midwest, it always meant a penis that was wider in length than it was, wider in girth than it was in length.
Yeah.
like a crushed soda can.
Yeah. And like we were talking about on the first episode that you were on, I was always torn between the definition that I knew is it's the space between your balls and your butthole. But
Right, and I've heard that,
The
but I'm
space
like,
between a
no,
blink
that's
and
not
a tear.
chode.
Yeah,
Chode-
the space
chode's
between a
about
blink
the
and a tear.
shape of your dick, not the bottom part.
The
Yeah.
gooch, the spacer.
gooch, spacer, those are other words that I consider to be synonymous with chode.
I will fuck. I literally.
I will fuck anything right now.
No, my system of male grooming literally stops right there. Once I hit the base of my balls and it goes into gooch
Chode territory?
gooch
Gooch?
territory. Yeah.
Can I ask you a personal question?
What's up?
How many inches is the gooch for you?
I mean, shit. I don't give a shit.
Have you measured it?
I'll measure it right now. Yeah.
Yeah, how many fingers then? I'll do mine.
How many? Okay, so I got to be careful about
It's
how
moist.
I say this.
It's real moist down there.
So
right
you
now.
know how
I need that poncho.
you know the measurement for
Butthole
Yeah. What's the space between your balls and your butthole? How long is that?
to the actual entry of my butthole, or like where
When the butthole starts, butthole.
crack starts.
The first crack. Yeah.
until it starts to tickle.
I don't know. It's like
Whoa. So about an inch and a half.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
two.
yeah, about two. Yeah, maybe a little over.
Seems
two,
pretty average. This is what this show has turned into now.
And you tuck under the balls?
I started at the base of my balls. I started Yeah.
Holy shit.
Oh, you got some room to work with. That's
Yeah.
But I think that's a
Goddamn, Joe,
benefit
I'm
to have it
impressed.
bigger is because with wiping, you have a lot less chances of you smashing into balls or anything like that.
True.
Oh, I hate when that happens. If you wipe back to front and you get some poo-poo on the balls. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you want to go down this conversation?
I don't know.
I mean, I think this
I-
show
I-
is.
I-
You're the last one. Let's measure this shit.
I have wiped the same way my whole life to where
have to
I
sit
could
up.
not switch it up at this
no,
point.
I can do it sitting down.
Is that small?
One finger. I got a big butthole. Inherited that from my father's side of the family.
Whoa.
That's why your dad was the most popular guy.
Dudes have bigger spacers than the ladies on average, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
because we
would-
don't have vaginas.
Yeah, I would think.
But the space
for sure.
between, the vagina and the butthole is significant. The gooch on a woman is half an inch. What's the biggest you've seen? I've seen 2-incher.
2 inches.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I don't know. It's pretty rare that I bust out a ruler during sex. Every now and then, maybe just to prove a point, but
No.
I haven't measured my dick since I was 12.
I've never really measured it. Just at the same like the gooch, you just kind of ballpark it and guess.
Yeah.
just eyeball it.
Yeah.
There are some days
I don't want to get depressed.
when you wake up. But do you guys ever have those days and you don't know why? There's no reason for it. You have those days and you go to the bathroom, or you go to the shower or whatever. You drop your pants and you look at your dick and it it maybe happens. Sometimes it happens once a week. Sometimes it happens once a month. Where you just look at it and you go, I got a good hang going on today.
I know
Do you know
exactly.
what
I know exactly what you're talking
like
about.
it's like your dick is somehow miraculously bigger and
It's having a good day.
it's
It's like a good hair day.
It's
Yeah.
hanging really
it's,
good.
It's nice and relaxed. It's comfortable. It's feeling
yeah,
confident.
like it's at it's not erect, but it's at the most it can possibly be without erection.
Adam-
It's
I
hanging.
love when that happens.
Adam
Yeah.
Carolla.
You feel so good. You're like, my dick's way bigger than I ever thought it was.
It has no stress. It's super relaxed and just laid out.
Dick's
Yeah.
feeling good, man.
Yeah.
Adam Carolla actually has a perfect term for that, which I guess you have to understand pottery to a certain degree to know why it's a perfect term. I guess in pottery, there's a stage between malleable clay and a fully baked piece of pottery
Yeah.
where it's semi firm
Yeah.
and it's called leather.
That's exactly how it feels.
Yeah.
It feels like
When you got it-
strong,
Yeah.
but it's still limp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leathery dick day.
Yeah. No, it's just,
Fuck, I could use one
I
of those
had
right
one of
now.
those a couple days ago, and in that moment when you look at it and you realize you're having a good hang, all your stresses go out of the window. Like you, in that moment, you can say like, "This is going to be a good day."
You want to put on some gym shorts without any underwear.
Oh my
You want to wear
God.
some
Yeah.
So
some
ladies
nice
don't know how much
sweatpants.
stress comes with having a penis. If you're having the opposite of that, a bad day, you look down and it's like hidden in the pubes.
Oh, it's
It's
a
cold outside.
helmet
hidden in the
bush.
pubes. You're like, fuck, I'm going to have a horrible day at
Shriveled up.
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens to me when I drive fast.
There's actually like there's a scientific explanation why some penises shrivel more than others.
Grower, not a shower.
There's a scientific
Yeah,
explanation
it's
for that.
more common in men of from Northern European ancestry.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the?
Yeah, some daddies have a long hang, but then when they get hard, it's almost the same size.
Yeah.
And then some people,
Some guys do.
have a little guy that's just like takes a nap on top of the balls. But then when it's busy time, it
Yeah, and I
triples,
think it's
quadruples
more,
in size.
From what I understand, it's more common in men from Northern European ancestry with the shrivel effect. It could have something to do with like how people survived, in cold
yeah,
winters.
like it's
and
like
all that.
nature versus nurture or
Yeah.
whatever.
I'm not sure if it has anything
Sometimes
to do
the
with
penis
nurture,
wants
but
to cuddle with
genetics
the
for
balls,
sure.
or sometimes it wants to protect
Yeah.
the balls. Yeah.
Dick history.
I don't even know how to segue into the topic from here, but you guys
I think
ready to
we really should start the topic because we're an hour in already.
Sorry.
an hour in? All right, you're gonna have fun editing this one.
Well, I'm
glad
not
you
going to
got
edit
some
it. I'm going to do like a
split screen.
like a phone call, split screen,
Split screen,
diagonal.
just let it go.
Just let it go.
This is going to be a really weird, not even a segue. This is just going to be a weird transition because from Aquaman to Dr. Dolittle to Mowgli from the Jungle Book, The world of books, movies, and comics are filled with characters able to communicate with animals. But outside of the erotic fiction I write for my Tumblr account, none of these figures have ever manually stimulated one of their animal companions to climax. While Mowgli may have never finger-blasted Bagheera after a night of partying with King Louie, there was a woman who was more dedicated to her craft than the orphan boy from the Disney film. Her name was Margaret Howe Lovett, and in the 1960s, she jacked off a dolphin in the name of science.
Mowgli was more friends with Baloo, dude.
Well, I mean, he didn't want to ruin the friendship by finger-blasting him. John C. Lilly was a physician, neuroscientist, and the inventor behind Joe Rogan's favorite pastime, the isolation tank. In the mid-1950s, Lilly met astronomer Frank Drake, who was leading a project searching for extraterrestrial life. Drake had read a quasi-science fiction book written by Lilly in which he theorized... What?
Wait, so they're trying to find aliens and they end up jerking off a dolphin?
You just got to follow the story, man. Like I
Okay,
said, this
I'm
is
just
a
saying.
wild fucking story.
Okay.
Drake had read a quasi-science fiction book written by Lilly in which he theorized that dolphins wanted to communicate with humans but were unable to do so. Seeing a parallel between Lilly's research and his own, Drake helped secure funding from NASA so Lilly could carry out his insane experiment.
They got NASA funding?
Yeah. His research started in
They
Coconut
don't even
Grove,
have good
Florida, before moving to a new facility on the island of St. Thomas. And there, Lilly built a lab with a workspace on the upper level and a dolphin enclosure below. He named the building Dolphin Point. It was around this time that a 23-year-old named Margaret Howe Lovett entered the picture. She had always loved animals and was fascinated by the stories of humans and animals communicating as a child. She was a fan of like Dr. Dolittle and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Sexually?
I mean, more than likely, considering how the story turns out. Although she had no formal training, she took a trip to Dolphin Point in the hopes of being given a chance to help with the experiment. So she actually...
Formal training in what? Jerk off a dolphin?
Well, no, we haven't gotten to that point.
Okay, I don't know about the jerk off yet.
No, I mean, it is in the title, but yeah.
Dolphin Point. Huh?
We'll pretend that we don't know about that part. But yeah, she was just a 23-year-old...
This was in the 60s?
Yeah, this was in the early 60s, or like early, close to mid-60s.
I mean, we were doing some weird experimentation back then. Like, the government was openly giving soldiers LSD and just, like, everyone was having a good time with science in those days.
Yeah. And
We had Nazis putting our Americans into space. And
so
Wait, a Nazi put an American into space?
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Werner von
Bunch
Braun.
of them.
Oh,
He was the
yeah.
most famous name, but there were a bunch of ex-Nazis who were working for NASA.
I know about that.
And by the
Okay.
way,
I thought there
there
was
were a bunch
something
of
else we didn't
ex-Nazis working for the Soviets. After World War II, it was just a race who could grab the most Nazi scientists.
smartest Nazis.
Yeah.
That was Operation Paperclip, I
Yeah.
believe, where they were just trying. They knew that the Nazis had been performing all these fucked up, insane experiments because they had.
But they were good with rocket work.
Oh yeah, very good. I mean,
cars.
the V2s obviously showed that.
Yeah,
I mean, the V2s,
reason why we landed on the moon was because of ex-Nazi
Yeah,
scientists.
yeah. Nazis put us on the moon, and the V2s were the first man-made object sent into space outside of I think it was a sewer cover that got launched into space. They theoretically got launched into space during a huge explosion in, I think it was actually here in Texas, down by the coast. A ship filled with either fertilizer or a ship filled with explosives blew up.
And launch something into space?
Yeah, inadvertently.
I didn't know that.
But yeah,
What does this have to do with jerking off a dolphin?
Well, I'm trying to get to that, but I keep getting
That's like the
interrupted.
orgasm. I get launched into space whenever I orgasm. Feels like I'm going to space.
Oh, and this story also has something to do with. So I didn't actually write that
Just
into
with
the
you,
notes.
baby, not with Coop.
Yeah, you say that now.
Coop just gets me out so I can go to bed. You take me to the moon.
We've been together 20 years now, Joel.
It's not sexual for you guys.
Yeah, I'm not putting that much effort into it anymore. The story
Either
also
am I.
has.
Either am I.
Yeah, I can tell. This story
Okay.
also has something to do with Flipper. Did you guys watch Flipper, right?
Oh yeah, I used to
yeah.
watch the old Nickelodeon. In
Nick at Night.
Nickelodeon's
Nick at Night.
early days, they'd show like old '60s kids shows
Yeah.
and shit like that. Yeah.
So I didn't write it into the notes, but the dolphin in question that's involved with this story, actually all 3 dolphins that are involved with this story,
Flipper got jerked off.
all were 3 of the dolphins that played Flipper.
They were jerking off actor dolphins.
Only one of them.
Shit.
You know, if they were
No
SAG,
one's safe.
they wouldn't have never allowed that to happen to them.
Was Harvey Weinstein involved in this?
No, this is the Harvey Weinstein of dolphins. Except, well, I don't know. Maybe
They were
it's-
Hollywood Dolphins.
They were
No
Hollywood
one's safe in
Dolphins.
Hollywood. You're gonna get
The
fucked.
casting couch goes back so much further than anybody realizes,
Jesus.
and it apparently strays into the animal world also.
Should have
They
known.
call him
Should have known.
Flipper, Flipper.
Faster than lightning.
No one can see. No
got-
one at sea is smarter than he. They call him Flipper, Flipper.
You know that.
I
You know what happened, right? He got so used to it. Like they're like, Flipper, just jump over the fucking bridge for the shot. He was like, nope, not
He
jerk
just
me off.
rolls over onto his
Gotta-
back.
you gotta-
I feel like finding out that they were doing that to the Flipper Dolphins is almost like when you hear about some child actor from a show you loved as a kid talking about how one of the
Yeah.
producers molested them. I'm like, oh fuck, no, not Flipper.
Oh, dude, like
What's her name?
oh shit,
Singing in the rain.
no,
Isn't
who
that
was
the song that was based off that or something?
no, it was
Strawberry Shortcake or something.
no, not Strawberry Shortcake. The
Yeah, that's a cartoon, isn't it? She was probably raped
I can't
too.
remember. I can't remember her name. Not Punky Brewster. That was Salil Moonfry. She turned out to be a porn actress. Or no, she did.
No. She turned out normal.
She's
I
the
thought
one
that
that saw,
she did.
saw Homeboy's dick.
No, the one that did Pippi Longstocking.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. The one that I'm thinking of is curly hair young girl.
Curly Sue. No.
No, not curly shoe.
Shirley Temple. Thank you.
Shirley,
Terribly abused as a child.
the
She made fun of Homeboy though.
the guy who wrote
got one.
the guy who wrote the song "Singing in the Rain" whipped his dick out in front of Shirley Temple, and she laughed at him, and it pissed him off, and he kicked her out of his office when she was like 12.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, super young. So anytime you listen to "Singing in the Rain," just picture the guy who wrote it pulling his dick out in front of Shirley Temple, and she laughed at it, and that's probably the only reason that she didn't get full blown
Because she
molested
was
by
so
that
used
guy.
to seeing.
Yeah,
somebody
but she
else.
stood up for herself.
She was like, "Oh,
Well, that's what pedophiles do, right? It's not a sexual thing; it's a power thing, and she stripped all the power from them.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but at that point she had probably seen much bigger, and God, I feel so bad for that girl because of that.
I'm sure it's better now. I would not that like it's not like all this crazy shit you read. I've been on film and movie sets. When I say it's not.
You've
a place
had your
for
fair
children,
share of
it's not 'cause
producers
it's a bunch of
expose
fucking
themselves.
pedos walking around. It's just these are like it is an adult work environment, right? You got union dudes who curse and fucking smoking cigarettes and all that shit, right? It's like it's not a work environment that's great for children. Unless you're like probably working for Disney or some shit. But,
No, Disney's bad too.
right, they overwork them.
Worse.
Not just overwork. There's a really creepy guy that was recently exposed who worked with Ariana Grande when she was working on
That's the thing is,
whatever
the same
show
amount
Ariana
of
Grande
predators
was
in
on.
Hollywood are the same amount in normal society. It's just because that industry is so power leveraged that the chances of a pedo in that world being able to take advantage of a child is probably higher than it is in a normal world. But for many reasons, not just that.
That's why I
would
support
never
these
want my
Chinese
kids.
sex dolls.
I would never want my kids to be in that environment. Not just because perverts, but like it's just not a good environment for kids to be in.
I really can't think of any child actor. Is there
I
a
think
A
notable
lot of
child
them turned
actor
out
that
normal. Yeah,
Is there?
Like
Yeah,
child labor.
Yeah,
Child
Huh?
labor is illegal unless it's acting, but it's just a job anyway, so it's still just child labor.
There
But it's
are
still
restrictions.
legal.
They're only allowed to work a certain amount. But yeah, like basically,
Only 6 hours instead of 8.
right. But yeah, kids are allowed
they-
to
but-
basically work at the age of 5, where there's no other industry where a child can work in.
But there's all kinds of ways around that. So what happens is they show up 2 hours early, get into hair and makeup, all that blah blah while you're resting. Not part of the 6-hour session. They do 3-hour session, and then they do their school training, which is up to 4 hours. So they'll do 3 hours of work after 2 hours of prep. Then they go to school while on set,
Yeah.
and they sit in the classroom for 4 hours, and then they do Their other 3
They're
hours.
overworked.
Yeah. So then
Yeah.
that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 11 or 12 hours, and then there's 2 hours of wrap up before they go home, and that's the child labor that we were putting people
Yeah,
through in
like
Hollywood.
I said, like if my kid ever wanted to, if they said they want to be an actor, I'm like, okay, when you turn 18, do whatever the fuck you want, go to school for it, go to LA, but you're not. I'm not taking the fucking auditions.
Yeah, I would never want a child of mine getting into
It's child
acting.
labor. That's the part that I'm just trying to say.
And it's also putting them in an insanely dangerous environment. I mean, like psychologically dangerous environment.
Yeah. Well, and it's more work than like
Normal
working
kids
in
do.
like picking strawberries.
The
in a
reason
field.
why child actors are fucked up, it's like they didn't get to socialize like normal kids do and all that, right? They were around adults all the time and
smoking cigarettes.
and but kids on
Drew
set
Barrymore.
Measuring spacers.
but you can like be as gentle with a child on set as possible. But at the end of the day, you're bossing a child around, and not like they get bossed around and by teachers. You're especially a young child, like a 4 or 5 year old who doesn't even know what the fuck is going on. Really, You're forcing them to go through emotions just so you can capture it and exploit it to the world.
Yeah. Well, and memorizing lines. When does that happen?
Well,
4 hours before they
would
came before
memorize
a 12-hour
things
day.
in schoolwork. But I'm saying, like, did you ever? I think Steven Spielberg is one of the most brilliant creative people of all time. But it was very uncomfortable to watch. Spielberg in E.T. There's a behind the scenes of you're seeing Spielberg on set getting Drew Barrymore to cry. He wasn't yelling at her or anything. He wasn't being mean to this child. Drew Barrymore, I think, was like 5 years old.
Yeah.
He gets, which is his job as a director, he gets this young 5-year-old girl to cry. And she probably was smart enough. She knew this was for a scene and faking it. But when he said cut, she couldn't stop crying. It became real. Like he made a child cry.
Yeah.
Even if it was for make-believe, she couldn't.
$4 million.
She couldn't stop crying afterwards. She got so into the crying that it became an emotional experience for her. And like it's really sad to watch.
Yeah, she probably has this weird flash image in her head of this old man staring down at her, making her cry, and she doesn't understand it.
Imagine your dog dying. Now
That's
cry.
I'm like, I don't think he was doing, but yeah, he had his very smart way of doing it, and I don't think it probably would have caused long-term psychological harm to her. But it's uncomfortable to watch.
But it did.
You talk a child into crying, and then they can't shut it off because they don't even know how to control their emotions once they're actually crying.
I mean, I would think that still has to be influential on somebody that young.
Yeah.
She turned out great.
Well, she had
After she
she's
got
great
out of
now.
rehab.
She's one of the most squared away women on earth. Her life is amazing, but she had some rough teenage years.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Great film.
Sorry.
The Dolphins.
I wonder how big
They were
E.T.
molesting the Dolphins.
They were molesting the Dolphins from Flipper, so nobody in the film industry is safe.
E.T. probably has a huge spacer anyway.
I don't know if E.T. even has a dick.
Probably on his knee or some shit.
So John C. Lilly was running an experiment, got funding from NASA to try and teach dolphins how to talk. And admittedly, he was on a lot of LSD at this time.
God bless him.
So eventually, this 23-year-old girl shows up, and she doesn't have any experience with animals. She's an animal enthusiast, gets very enthusiastic later, but doesn't have any formal training. And she just shows up at the lab, and she's like, hey, I hear that you're working with dolphins. I like dolphins. Is there anything that I can do to help? So that's where we're going to pick up, where at first Lovett was allowed to watch the dolphins and encouraged to take notes just to make her feel useful. But Lily soon realized how intelligent and intuitive Lovett was and offered her a full-time position at the lab working with the 3 dolphins, Pamela, Sissy, and Peter. And Peter's the main dolphin in this story. Although the dolphins were given daily lessons, the process was tedious and the researchers saw no indication of progress. Feeling that she could make a breakthrough if given more time with them, Lovett asked if she could move into the lab. Lovett wanted to flood the upper level of the lab with a few feet of water to allow one of the dolphins to live with her for 24 hours per day. Which I haven't seen pictures of what this lab looks like. But
was she trying to form an emotional connection with the dolphin?
So they were trying to give the dolphins daily lessons, but it was sort of broken down into a schedule, and the which we're about to get into. The general idea was the way that children learn how to speak is by just being immersed in it
Right.
with their parents.
Repetitiveness.
So she figured that if she had enough time with the dolphin every day, eventually it would start picking up on her speech patterns, because the dolphins can actually make
Well, did they know at that time with marine research? Did they know what we know now, like how intelligent dolphins are, or were they just discovering that?
I think that this is probably around the time that they're just discovering how smart dolphins
Because
are.
When we communicate with a dolphin, like we think our dogs are not. They're fucking dumb as fuck. They like they're intuitive with human beings in certain ways because we bred them that way. But like dogs are, we have all the connections we feel with dogs is because we feel good basically about those connections. But the dog is just responding to the way it's bred. Where with dolphins, there actually is language being exchanged between humans and dolphins.
Yeah, there's
like they are next level intelligent.
There's thousands of years of evolution that have turned dogs into what they are now,
Right.
And that selective
And they're
breeding,
perfect for our species.
Oh, very much.
But
so.
they're not special
They're
brain-wise.
They're mimicking. Well, it's not even that they're mimicking. They've had selective breeding that has turned dogs into what we think are. I mean, I've got a soft spot for dogs, but
Yeah, I
they're-
love my dog, but I know he exists for my amusement at the end of the day, at its core.
Yeah, they're not exactly independently intelligent creatures. They can be very smart. You can teach dogs to do a lot of
Independently
things.
intelligent.
But dolphins,
But
on the
they're
other
not
hand,
actually communicating with us.
Yeah.
The way, like, dolphins have... we don't...
dogs are
For
reacting
all we know,
instinctually.
dolphins could have self-awareness.
You know, I've heard before.
Borderline, right?
I've heard a
They
theory.
ride the line.
Dolphins
They almost are.
dolphins are self-aware. There's tests that you can do with animals to figure out what their level of self-awareness is, where you show them a mirror and you put a mark on them somewhere, and if they react to that mark, that means that they're actually recognizing that their reflection is a reflection of themselves and not a completely different creature. There's only a handful of animals that are actually capable of that, which like monkeys
Right.
can do it, and dolphins are.
Did you see the video of that kid showing them the gorilla at the zoo?
His
their
dick?
Instagram,
Oh no, I saw the other one.
and she would show him a picture on Instagram, and then the monkey would go like this. So
The monkey knew how to swipe.
Yeah, and then so she would swipe to the next one and show him, and he'd look at it, and then he'd go like this, and she would move it each time he did it. I thought that was cool.
I think it's time to put monkeys on Tinder.
Would you fuck a monkey? Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, we want to start talking about the 80s right now? The AIDS epidemic? No? Okay.
Oh man, Patient Zero. What was it? A French flight attendant that they've tracked.
Wait, so
The
she
AIDS
flooded her lab.
Okay, so
Sorry.
so yeah, I haven't seen pictures of this lab, but somehow
flooded her bedroom.
they had a dolphin enclosure down below, and then they had another level above that, which was where the main workspace was. She convinced the lead researchers to partially flood that level so she could actually move in and live 6 days a week with one of the selected dolphins, and they ultimately selected Peter.
They
to
lived
be
in the same room.
They yeah.
So she was in water most of the time.
Yeah.
Her feet must have been wrinkly as fuck.
Oh, we'll get into that. So Lovett wanted to flood the upper level of the lab with a few feet of water to allow one of the dolphins to live with her 24 hours a day. Lovett hoped the constant exposure would allow her to teach the dolphin to speak in much the same way a child learns to speak from their parents. John C. Lilly was tripping balls on LSD pretty much regularly at this point, so he happily agreed to the
It
plan.
went beyond the research part of LSD. He was just having fun with it.
Oh, one of the things that... So while this experiment was going on, before they even flooded the upper levels of the lab, one of the things that inspired Lovett to move forward with this is he was just laying in an isolation tank above the dolphin enclosure in this lab, tripping balls on LSD. And he claims that he started having a mental conversation with the dolphins, and he was convinced that they wanted to communicate, but they were sending so much information so quickly that his mind wasn't able to process it. So he felt that if he was able to get them to actually speak English, humans and dolphins would be able to communicate. There was an urge to communicate between the two species, but there wasn't a shared language. So the whole goal was to create a shared language between the two. And since the humans couldn't learn how to psychically communicate the way that the dolphins were communicating with him,
He was going to jerk them off.
well, no, we're getting to that later. That's actually unrelated, oddly enough.
What?
We'll get there.
Duty balls.
Yeah, I'm going to need a refill on this drink here soon.
Lovett chose Peter as her new roommate, and the researchers flooded the lab. Lovett moved in with Peter after the two had known each other for only a few weeks, which Peter probably should have seen as a red flag. The two began living together in the lab 6
Peter.
days out of the week, spending all day together, alternating between English lessons and arguing about what movie to watch. I might have been a little buzzed when I wrote this. On the seventh day of the week, Peter would be returned to the enclosure with Pamela and Sissy, and Lovett would hopefully take a shower since she had spent the previous 6 days knee-deep in water that was likely filled with dolphin shit. Very little progress was made in teaching Peter to speak English over the course of the experiment. Although he was able to mimic some of the sounds made by Lovett, he had difficulty forming words due to the fact that he was a fucking dolphin. I was
They don't have a human jaw or tongue.
I had definitely been drinking when I wrote this. While speaking proved to be difficult, Peter did show an avid interest in other things, such as the female anatomy.
Going back to Drinkin' Bros' earliest days. The talk of dolphin rape was one of the
rapey.
earliest themes of the Drinkin' Bros network.
They're very, very sexual animals.
Yeah. They don't have the same concept of consent like human beings do.
Aren't sharks pretty violent too?
I mean, sharks are violent, but they're not.
From what I've seen.
They're not.
And they
well,
have two dicks.
I think, yeah, they do have two dicks, but
Did you know that?
No.
Sharks have two dicks. Mm-hmm. Like two full fucking dicks.
Well, if you look at the underside of a male shark, there's two.
Jack, do you hear what I'm saying?
I'm going to be honest with you. I've never been in a Shark Week. I don't care. I care about mammals.
Copy.
Okay, now I'm fucking offended.
Yeah, but
Shark
sharks
Week
have
is my
two dicks.
favorite week of the year.
What other creature has two dicks?
I mean, I'm sure there's.
Besides that alien thing from Alien Resurrection, had like four.
Which one?
The mutant thing at the end that gets sucked out the window had four
Hey,
dicks.
man, can you imagine how much cum you can produce with two dicks?
Did you? Oh, here. This is a quick movie fact.
Dude, I can shoot it on her face and her ass at the same time.
At the same
Two
time,
dicks.
motherfucker. Yeah. In Alien Resurrection, when it was in theaters, the mutated alien that she fights at the end, it's like half her son, half the queen. Do you remember it? It was like
No,
skin-colored
never seen it.
alien with a skull face, but it had the alien
it
head and all that.
terrified me.
In the theater, when you watched it, it had four dicks in the wide shots.
What?
Yeah.
I saw it in theaters. I feel like
It was
especially
never like prominently shown,
at
but
the age that I watched it, I feel like I would have noticed four dicks.
I noticed it 100%, and it fucked with me
Oh,
mentally.
that's not surprising.
Yeah, and I was like, what the fuck? And like literally, it came out on VHS, and they removed it because it was too graphic, they thought.
Huh.
And literally, only on the theatrical release in theaters did it have it. When it came out on VHS, it was gone.
So we can't show alien dick.
But you can show a guy
Yeah.
getting his head crushed by that alien.
Yeah. The MPAA draws the line at the alien dick.
Yeah, it went too far. It would have been cooler if it was four of the alien tongues that have the face on it. That would have been cool.
Oh, the little inner mouth thing that
Yeah, the
that
inner
shoots
mouth
out?
alien head penis thing.
Oh fuck, that would be
It's a
hot.
tongue.
I'm pretty sure that was it H.R. Giger that
Geiger?
you don't know.
When our species, if we ever actually make clear contact with aliens, they're not going to be anything like we've envisioned in our sci-fi movies.
I don't think that alien life is going to even look like life as we know it once we
we literally
encounter it.
can't comprehend what
Yeah.
alien life, which does exist, looks like.
I mean, a silicon-based life form, it could be
I think
a
maybe
conscious
dolphins
rock.
will come back.
That's what I'm
Back
saying.
from
Like
what?
The alien life that's like
From their journey to
super
space.
advanced could just be like fucking jellyfish.
Yeah, it'd be so cool if like a spaceship came back and it was dolphins, and they were like, "We figured out how to communicate." Now
We're
we're
from
back
the
to
future.
We're back to save our
Yeah.
people.
No, because dolphins are aquatic creatures, and you're not going to be able to make that much advancement unless you're able to.
It's not technological advancement; it's organic advancement.
Unless you're able to create combustion, and you can't create
Guys, don't let
combustion
me
if
go to
you're
my phone
underwater.
right now.
It's not.
Let's
They don't need
we gotta start
combustion. It's
Don't let me
organic.
go to my phone.
It's organic.
Oh.
Okay.
You need to watch The Abyss.
According to Love, no, I'm not, Joel. I'm telling you, I've put so much time and effort into
Organic
researching
combustion,
this shit.
dude.
There's no combustion without oxygen, and there's no oxygen underwater. An aquatic
That's a lie.
species is not
There's
going to
oxygen in
reach
water.
space because they're not going to be able to discover fire in the first place.
They don't need fire.
For combustion, yeah, you do. We'll get into this later. So according to Lovett, these are her own words, and I quote, "When we had nothing to do was when we did the most. He was very, very interested in my anatomy. If I was sitting here and my legs were in the water, he would come up and look at the back of my knee for a long time. He wanted to know how that thing worked, and I was so charmed by it."
Dolphrotica.
Yeah, that was hot already. Keep going.
As an adolescent male...
Sounds like fucking Joanne Collins right now.
Oh, man, it gets weirder. Trust me.
No, I'm gonna try to focus and get turned on right now.
Oh, but that shouldn't be very hard for you. As an adolescent male, Peter understandably had some urges preoccupying his mind. The fascination with Lovett's legs soon turned sexual, and the young Dolphin began practicing the long-standing teenage tradition of dry humping. Peter would rub himself against Lovett's knees, feet, and hands, all the while trying to convince her to let him put just the tip in only for a second. Eventually, Lovett came to the
She
conclusion...
would let him?
No.
No, not just the tip, but she would let him fuck her legs.
Dry hump. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
What do you mean dry? It's in the water and he's naked.
Dolphins are pretty...
She got pants on?
Okay, wet hump.
She in a wetsuit?
He was wet humping her legs. Eventually,
Dry
Lovett
humping is with clothes on.
Eventually, Lovett came to the conclusion that the simplest solution to satisfy Peter's urges, was to satisfy Peter's urges, so he would calm down and leave her the fuck alone for a little while. In Lovett's own words, quote, "It was just smarter to incorporate that and let it happen. It would just become part of what was going on,
Incorporate that.
like an itch. Just get rid of that scratch and we would move on. So just get it out of the way so we can get back to the English lessons." It was at this point that a 23-year-old woman began giving regular hand jobs to a bottlenose dolphin as part of a NASA-funded project attempting to teach an animal how to speak.
I'm assuming the people
Do we know what she looks like?
supplying money at NASA were unaware that the experiment had evolved into that.
They were very much unaware.
Yeah.
And that's actually the next part
What
of
did
the
she look
story.
like?
There's pictures of her online.
And what did she look like?
And she looked.
Tell me what she looks like.
She looked like a 23-year-old from the 60s.
Hair color?
I think
Beehive.
she had brown hair and most likely
Short?
a huge bush is what I'm guessing you're going to ask next.
Skinny?
I
tall?
mean, she was in decent shape. Look up a picture on. I can't describe
Yeah,
her to you
Google it,
right
man.
now.
I want to
Just-
hear more about how
Well, no,
NASA
for the
found
audio-
out she was
I'm
jerking
trying
off
to.
dolphins.
I'm trying to finish the goddamn story,
The
Joel.
audio viewers need to know what she looks like. Trust me.
Well, the
I'm here
audio
for
viewers
them.
need to tune into YouTube, and you can put an overlay of what.
No, I won't have time because this is going to be a 2-hour episode. So what does she look like?
Yeah,
Come on,
well,
give me.
stop interrupting me, and you're going to have time to put some overlays on this shit.
Give me a. We need
I
to know
don't
what she
know.
looks
You've
like.
got a phone right there. Fucking look her up.
If we don't end this show, I'm going to get accused of cheating.
Joel, you see what you're doing? You see what you're doing right
Just
now.
want to know what she looks like.
to.
Shame on me.
She was a 23-year-old from the 60s.
23-year-old from the 60s with a beehive haircut, probably brunette, maybe tall, maybe short, skinny, probably, maybe.
She was
Why'd she get hired? Because she was hot?
average in every way possible. No, she got hired probably because they wanted her to
Jerk off a dolphin.
jerk off a dolphin.
Well, if that was the reason, then she had to have been hot because they wanted Peter to be attracted to her. And he liked the back of her knees, so she must have had nice knees.
Okay, so she's a 23-year-old with brown hair,
Supermodel.
possibly a beehive haircut, and she has very nice knees.
Okay, and what size is Peter's penis?
Dolphin-sized is my guess.
Oh, fuck yeah. Okay, keep going. I'm getting a half chub right now.
Lovett found nothing sexual in the act, as any person should feel about a half-hearted hand job, but she did say later on it improved the bond between her and Peter.
So it was sexual.
Yeah.
I don't
This
think it was
woman's no
half-hearted.
Jane Goodall. I'm going to say it right now.
No.
She moved a dolphin into her home.
She moved in with a dolphin and started jerking it off and then said there was
it
nothing
wasn't half-hearted.
sexual about that.
I'm telling you, it's not half-hearted. There's no way.
I tell you right now, Jane Goodall, the reason why we all know her name is because she never jerked off any of those fucking apes.
At least not in a way that was documented.
Right.
I wish I was Peter right now. I'm not going to lie.
As Lovett described it, quote, I was there to get to know Peter. That was part of Peter. So jerking off Peter was part of getting to know Peter.
Yeah, you got to know every part of a man.
So around this time, Frank Drake, the astronomer who had helped secure funding for the project,
Oh, no.
sent one of his colleagues to check on the status of the experiment.
Oh, no.
The colleague in question was none other than Carl Sagan,
Holy
mentor of Neil
shit.
deGrasse Tyson and future cancer victims.
That's who they
Holy
sent?
Carl
shit.
Sagan was the one.
He was what,
sent-
probably in his like 30s
Yeah,
at that
he was.
time?
He was about.
He was a young
He was
upstart,
handsome
just
back
making
then.
it, just
Early
making his name
30s.
in the scientific community.
And he got sent to check on this project.
Yeah,
that
still had to do
supposedly-
bitch work.
Supposedly teaching dolphins how to speak, shows up at the lab, and he sees some 23-year-old jacking off a dolphin.
He witnessed her.
He watched her jerk it off.
Dude, he got all of the documentation and everything.
He
Like,
was professional. He got the data.
Yeah, he had to get all the information because I honestly don't
Did
think.
he try jerking it off?
I mean, maybe Carl Sagan was pretty freaky back in the day. I mean, smoked a lot of weed.
Yeah, I know he was.
He would talk about.
Do you
He's
think
got.
he had a threesome with them? Off the books?
I mean, off the books, maybe. I wouldn't put it past him. Carl Sagan, he wasn't.
Well,
an
that's why
uptight
it's
guy.
important to know what she looks like. Because if she was cute, he'd be like,
Elijah Wood.
Okay, so
okay,
apparently
she's hot as
she
fuck
looks.
then. I wanted to fuck Frodo back in the day.
Okay, so a female that looks like
Female Frodo
is jacking
is
off a
jacking
dolphin.
off. Yeah, and you're Carl Sagan?
Carl Sagan walks in. That's a threesome.
Threesome.
No doubt, that's a threesome.
Had
There's
to
no
be.
way that doesn't turn into a threesome.
No? There's LSD everywhere? It's like he showed up and he was like, oh my God, it's a party house. I'm going to have to shut this down. But they gave me a week to do my data. It's day 3.
Carl Sagan has some of his own personal
That's
writings
like movie
talking
set
about
rules, right?
about
Like-
how smoking weed and having sex is amazing. So I'm sure that he probably
had to have
wasn't
thought of it.
He wasn't that freaked out by
Okay,
it.
maybe he didn't. To respect the man, maybe he didn't do it.
I mean, I'm not
But
a
he thought
regular
of it.
pot smoker. I like to enjoy weed every once in a while, and I've never thought about jerking off a dolphin.
But what about banging this chick who's jerking off a dog?
I dare say you're an outlier in that, Jack.
You like show up at this place, everyone's on drugs, they're doing experiments, quote unquote, and then there's this hot babe in a fish tank jerking off a dolphin. You're like, what's going on around here? What is this? And then what if she's kind of sexual in nature herself? So when she's done for the day, she's like, "Oh, hey, Carl, how are you today?"
Considering
and,
the fact
smeared
that
some
it's
of
the
that
60s,
dolphin juice on him.
Considering the fact that it's the 60s, that probably wasn't that shocking to him. I mean, everybody's tripping balls and doing drugs and fucking each other left
Oh
and
yeah,
right.
he showed up there and was like, "Oh, this is normal."
That was the early 60s.
Yeah, so, I mean, well, the report that he gave didn't pan out well for the experiment overall.
Yeah.
Because upon reviewing the experiment, Sagan was shocked to find Lily tripping balls on a nearly daily basis and the lead research assistant jacking off the test subject. Unsurprisingly, Drake chose to cut off the project's funding. Everyone involved was devastated, but none more so than Peter the poor dolphin. After the research team parted ways,
Oh no, I know where this is going.
after the research
Well, I don't.
team,
I want to hear this.
After the research team parted ways, Lovett returned home where she soon began to miss her life with Peter. She later said in an interview, quote, "That relationship of having to be together sort of turned into really enjoying being together and wanting to be together and missing him when he wasn't there." In Lovett's defense, once you spend weeks jacking off a dolphin, all other experiences pale in comparison.
What about the dolphin?
We're getting there. A few weeks after the experiment was shut down, Lovett received a devastating phone call from Lily.
No.
After her departure, Peter had fallen into a deep depression.
No.
With his one true love no longer in his life, the lovesick adolescent took his final breath before sinking to the bottom of his enclosure, never to
Dolphin
surface
suicide.
He killed himself?
again. Peter killed himself.
What the fuck?
So dolphins are one of the I think one of the
That's got
the
to.
few
You
mammals
have
where
to be self-aware.
Yes.
To be able to commit suicide.
yes, because they
loved her.
consciously breathe. If a dolphin chooses to stop breathing, it is 100% by choice.
Yes.
Peter got depressed and killed himself because he missed Lovett.
And he didn't fucking pay attention in class because he
And
was
see,
busy getting jerked off,
that
so he
was-
couldn't tell
so
anyone.
That
So
is
he
some
didn't even speak
Romeo
English.
and Juliet shit right
Oh,
there.
Jack, wait until you hear the final line that I finished the
And
story
she
with.
was sad, too?
I am so glad you said that because wait until you hear the final line.
She was sad too?
Yeah, she missed him too.
They were in love.
They were in love. It was interspecies love.
But it was real love. In
Well,
a fucked up
I
way.
I just said it was interspecies love. Love is love, man. In summary, NASA funded an experiment to see if dolphins could learn to speak English, which resulted in a woman spending weeks giving handjobs to a teenage dolphin that committed suicide after having his heart broken. In the words of William Shakespeare, never was there a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo. I'm so glad you brought up Shakespeare.
Fuck. They fell in love with each other.
They
Was she doing drugs?
I'm-
Or was
I'm-
it just Dr. Doolittle?
Okay, Lily was definitely doing drugs through
So let me ask, is she still alive?
Yes. Or wait, she might have died in
We
the
gotta get her on the line.
early. I think she might have died in the early to mid 2000s, possibly. I need to look that part up, but I know that she didn't even start talking about this story until post 2000. Like she didn't give her first interviews about it until after 2000.
Well, yeah, you're in love with a dolphin. You
Did
can't
she
tell anybody.
ever remarry? Did she get over that love that she had and move on? She marry a man?
Did she ever?
Or
Did she
woman.
ever
She
find
find
another
another
dolphin?
dolphin?
Yeah. Did she ever remarry?
I think she.
Remarry.
I'm assuming that she. Yeah, remarry. I'm assuming she probably.
Does she have the entire Flipper fucking series on VHS?
dude, that
or
would be-
on what's it called?
Well,
the
you
big
know, yeah,
disc?
you
laser
ever
disc?
walk,
way
like,
too hard for her to
she
watch.
become like a full-blown dolphin lady. You know?
She married a photographer. She married the photographer that took all the pictures.
What a cuck.
The one that
Right?
took the
you
pictures
watch
of the
this-
dolphin?
You watch this chick fucking around with another fucking dude, and then you want to marry her.
No, but not only
I
that.
get it.
What a,
I've been turned on by it.
what a fucking freak! He sees this chick jerking off a dolphin
And
for
like,
weeks. He's
that's
like,
a woman for me.
"That's the
Well, if
woman
she
I
can
want to
fall,
spend the rest of my
he
life
must have
with."
been quite a looker because if she can fall in love with a dolphin, then she can fall in love with me.
Well, I don't know. Do you have that many dolphin-like qualities? How long can you hold your breath?
She was capable of love.
Wait, so
Without any
one of the
physical
dolphins
attraction.
from Flipper committed suicide. One more Hollywood death.
One of the dolphins from Flipper committed suicide because he fell in love with the 23-year-old woman
fucking
who was
Brad
giving him
Renfro
handjobs.
story right there, man.
Fuck, they were.
A
They were.
child actor who just couldn't take it anymore.
So,
A
joking
teenage
aside,
dolphin.
Joking aside, do you really think they were in love with each other?
I think. Well, I mean, I think Peter for sure. I think that Peter fell in love with Margaret,
Fuck.
and
Or the
because
hand
of,
jobs he was.
Well,
doing.
I remember.
Do you think he would take a hand
No.
job from someone else? He's dedicated.
I
He's
remember-
monogamous.
he.
Are dolphins monogamous?
I remember.
Okay, then he just needed the hand. He was in love with the fucking hand in the back of her knee.
I remember being young, and the first time like a chick gave me like any sexual attention,
A good old fashioned.
and in your head that's love because you just love fucking coming, but like, but
That's a very
at
good,
the end of the day,
very
it's
good
like,
point, Jack. Very good.
No,
point.
that's what he went through. He's like, I don't know if anyone's ever gonna want to fuck me again.
It was.
Remember
what
the
it
first
was.
breakup you had, the first chick that had sex with you, and you guys break up, and you honestly like you think it's love, but in a young boy's head, it's I don't know if I'll ever get laid again after this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
It's
Never gonna
devastating. It is fucking
He was in
devastating.
love with her hand in the back of her knee, and he killed himself.
And
over
her
it.
feet. He
fucked her feet, too?
Peter had a bit of a foot fetish also, because he humped her feet too. And then she started giving him hand jobs.
Okay,
Yeah, regular old Frank Sinatra.
And you guys think that's all that he fucked? If he now
all that was documented.
well, of course it
They
was
spent 6
documented,
days a
but if
week
she was in
together,
love-
day and night.
She was in love.
I don't think the nighttime activities were exactly documented, so a little something else could have been going on.
We're gonna have to
there.
look through this photographer's photos and see what that pussy looks like.
I don't know if he was taking pictures of that. Well, I mean, later on.
Later on,
Yeah. I mean, after fucking a dolphin.
Is
I
a dolphin
imagine
dick huge?
Looking pretty beat.
Like, is it similar to like a whale penis?
I would imagine dolphins are well endowed. I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm ashamed
Like,
to say
that's
I don't know what a
my
dolphin dick looks
initial
like.
thought would be that like a dolphin penis is pretty big.
You know,
I've seen a shark penis. They're pretty big.
Yeah.
Well, besides, okay, I might be wrong, but
Underwater dick packs.
besides barnacles, humans have the barnacles have the largest dick to body size ratio out of
Wait,
out of
barnacles have
anything.
dicks?
Oh, dude, and they're massive. They're like
What are you
10
talking
times the
about?
size of their body. How do you think barnacles fuck?
I didn't know barnacles were fucked. I thought it was like a bacteria thing.
No, they're living creatures. Barnacles have the
Barnacles? Or you
largest
mean
penis
the,
to
things that like
the shit that grows on the underside of boats.
flaps out and then when you touch it, it shrinks up?
No, you're thinking of
Sea anemones.
yeah, no, those
Got genitals and stuff.
I mean, no, I think they reproduce closer to plants where they just kind of release a bunch of shit and hope that it lands somewhere.
Barnacles got dicks?
They have the biggest body to penis size ratio in the entire animal kingdom, and the second place holder is humans.
No,
In in terms of body size, I
Not those old Greek statues, that's for sure.
yeah. David.
Those are all growers.
David
not
was
showers.
not David wasn't.
you believe
packing
the
a
Greeks-
horse.
Grower, not a shower.
They would put so much effort into sculpting the ultimate male body and give him like a fucking pencil dick.
Okay, are you specifically referring to David? Because I actually have some information on that. The statue of David.
Well, I was referring to
Every fucking statue
okay,
you
so-
see in Europe.
So first of all, back in those days, a large penis was considered barbaric.
yeah, you were considered dumb if you had a big dick.
Yeah. So having
Which I've met a lot of big dick dudes who are dumb as fuck. So
oh yeah, I mean all your blood has to go down there to supply it, so you're not getting as much to your brain.
Yeah.
But so yeah, like you were saying, back in those days, a large dick was considered barbaric.
yeah,
They
So
would
it
purposely
was
statue the dick smaller.
yeah, because it was considered more classy. But with the statue of David in particular, I think it's a theory.
He was like, dude, just cut it off.
With the statue of David, the statue of David has a notably small dick.
right.
And so, like I said, I think this is just a theory because you can't really ask anybody about it anymore because they're all dead.
Why? Oh.
But so the statue of David is looking upwards because it's supposed to be David from the story of David and Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
So David is looking upwards at his opponent, which was Goliath, who was supposed to be a giant.
Huge dick.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he was a barbarian. Of course, he had a huge dick. So David's looking up at his opponent, and the reason that the statue has such a small penis is because David's dick is retracting into himself because he's scared. Because he's in the middle of the fight with Goliath when the statue
dick is protecting itself.
Yeah, when the statue was created. That's a theory that I've heard. I have no idea if that's
I know
true or
that
not.
happens. That's what I started to talk about this earlier. When I drive really fast and I get nervous on the road going like 100 on the freeway, my dick will shrivel up into my pubes and hide. Because it's afraid it's going to die.
So it's got a mind of its own.
Yeah, no, it really does. Every
Oh
time.
Jesus, my owner is a fucking lunatic.
Or like if I haven't been in a fight in so long, but when I would get in fights, I would notice my dick literally sucked into itself. It's
okay,
gone.
that's not true because you've told me multiple times you get rock hard when you wrestle with a guy.
After.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wrestling is different than the fight. I mean, like a real
Oh,
fight.
getting a little playful.
Yeah, it does do that. It protects itself.
You guys want to wrap up the show and maybe maybe have a drink or two and call it an evening?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe do a little wrestling. Got a ghost bed right over here.
Only if it's the Greek kind.
So
Can we look up dolphin
Or
dicks?
or if we
Nick-
want to do some dolphin wrestling.
naked and covered in oil. So,
She
what's it
really
called?
loved the dolphin.
Pancration?
She admitted it.
I mean,
admitted it
I
later.
think she loved it in the way that you would love a
Love a dog you were jerking off every day.
yeah. So yeah, a dog.
So some weird. It was like her son, but like a stepson. Okay.
That's it for this episode of the Iconoblast podcast. I'm going to go ahead and call this before things get any more off the rails, but that's kind of the way this show always fucking goes. Thank you, Joel. That's your fault. You can follow us on Instagram at Iconoblast Podcast. You can follow me at Coop Nukem.
Joel R. Benner.
At Joel R. Benner.
And at Jack
Jack
Mandaville.
Mandaville.
JACKMANDAVILLE.
Boom.
Arguably, Jack has the most entertaining Instagram
Out of all our
us.
Instagrams, that's the one you should probably follow. It's actually funny.
You know, something
Entertaining.
I've been forgetting to do at the end of the show is thanking Rocom for our intro song. Rocom did our intro song.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can follow
thanks,
him on
Rocom.
Instagram at Rocom, ROCOM. He makes really good music. Just released an album not that long ago.
The album's sick. You should listen to it. It's called
He-
So. He'll also make you a song if you need one. Just
He
gotta
also made
throw
a-
down some Fetio.
He made a line of toys that Joel and I created a video game for called Mighty Maniacs, so you can check that out too. Just
Those are in the mail.
are we
We're
finally
gonna
getting
get our
some?
toys. Yeah, they'll be on the table soon.
Oh, good. It's about time because God, that guy has not done enough for us. No, Rocom, thank you for the song. But yeah, that's it for this episode of the Iconoblast podcast. My name is Matt Cooper.
I'm Joel Benner.
That's Jack Mandaville, and we're reminding you to never take anything at face value. You jerked off a dolphin.